Hello and welcome to Unit Review. Today we are talking about the Canoptek Macrocytes. They're one of 3 new 40k units that have come to us through the Tomb World Kill Team box, but are they any good? Let's dive in and start with the stat block. So, stat-wise, they have a move of 8 inches, toughness of 3, pretty squishy, a save of 4+, 1 wound, leadership of 8+, ouch, and an OC of 1. In terms of unit composition, they come in a unit of 5 and they cost 85 points. We'll talk a bit more about that later. And their standard war gear is the Gauss Scalpel and Claws for melee. But there's a few variations you can have on war gear, so we'll run through those as well. So you can replace all of those Gauss guns with the Tesla caster. You can also, per 5, have one model with an atomizer beam and a nano scarab projector, and another one with an accelerator mandible. Both of those have interesting abilities, and we'll come on to those in a second. Keyword-wise, they have the fly keyword, they are beasts, they have the Canoptek keyword, and also macrocytes. That's the basics out the way. Let's take a look at the weapon profiles, and we'll start with the ranged weapons first. So that atomizer beam I mentioned, one model can have that. That has a 12-inch range, 1 attack, you're hitting on 4s, but it's strength 6, AP 1, damage 1. Not bad. Next up is the trusty Gauss Scalpel. This has a range of 18 inches. Again, it's 1 attack and you're hitting on 4s. It's strength 4, AP 1, damage 1. And it has the lethal hits keyword. Good old Gauss. If you choose to replace the Gauss with Tesla casters, the Tesla has a range of 18 inches. You're getting 1 attack again, hitting on 4s again, but this is strength 5, AP 0, damage 1. Keyword wise, this has assault and sustained hits. For melee, the mighty Claws, each model gets 2 attacks, you're hitting on 4s, but they are strength 5, AP 1, damage 1. Which, to be fair, is not bad. And while it's not bad, it's also not great, but the weapons are not why you might be taking macrocytes. They have some pretty cool abilities, and that is where we're going to look now. So core abilities-wise, they have Scouts 8 inches, which is pretty decent, and obviously reanimation protocols like every other Necron unit. Then they also have the Harassment Swarm. This is an aura ability. And what it does is enemy units within 3 inches, excluding monsters and vehicles, must subtract 1 from their hit rolls when they are targeting us for attacks. The Accelerator Mandible, meanwhile, is really interesting. At the start of the fight phase, you select a Necron unit within 3 inches, and that unit gains +1 weapon skill. Now, remember this because this will be important later. In addition, the Nanoscarab Projector, once per battle round, a Necron unit within 3 inches gains +1 wounds from its reanimation roll. So it's not +1 to the reanimation dice, you gain an extra wound. That is, again, pretty strong. So I'm guessing from the abilities you are probably forming a picture in your head already of how to play this unit, but let's run through it anyway. So for me, it's those defensive buffs, and I think they're ideal for supporting Wraiths or Warriors, those units that we stick on the mid-board objectives and we want to hang on there and not die. So making those units -1 to be hit is pretty strong, and also giving them +1 wounds on their reanimation roll will help their survivability. On the flip side, you've still also got this offensive buff of +1 weapon skill. And in particular, I'm thinking about Wraiths here. I mean, Warriors, okay, they're not going to do loads of damage, but +1 weapon skill can make Wraiths pretty good. And we'll talk more about that in a second. Normally at this point, we'd look at a few stratagems that synergize with this unit. But frankly, I don't believe you should be wasting your CP on this unit. There's one potentially that you could use if you absolutely had to keep the unit alive. And I'll run through it now. So it's Counter-Temporal Shift. It costs 1 CP and it's a stratagem in the Canoptek Court detachment. This is effectively the lone op strat, so if the enemy is more than 18 inches away from you, they cannot target you with shooting attacks. It's a really good strat. You're probably going to have better units to use it on, but it's there if you need it. Speaking of Canoptek Court, that is one of 2 detachments that I think are the best ones for macrocytes. So let's start with Canoptek Court. I think that Scout would be really handy because there is an enhancement you can give to a Technomancer that gives the Wraith unit he's leading infiltrate, so you can start them up the board close to a mid-board objective. So the scout ability will allow the Macrocytes to go and support that unit early game, so there is some play in that, I think. There's also a lot of play in Awakened Dynasty with Wraiths because of this stackability of the +1 weapon skill. What do I mean by stackability? Well, normally you can't get more than +1 to hit, but +1 to hit and +1 weapon skill are two different things, so they effectively stack together. So in Awakened Dynasty, if Technomancer is leading the Wraiths, they get +1 to hit, which takes them down to hitting on 3s. And in melee, if with this +1 weapon skill, that will take them down to hitting on 2s. Now, Wraiths hitting on 2s with a bunch of attacks all of a sudden become quite an interesting melee threat. So there is definitely some play there. I'm going to be trying this out. Of course, it'd only be fair to look at the downsides, and I think there's 3 main drawbacks to this unit, so I'll run through those quickly for you. Firstly, they seem a little overpriced to me. 85 points is too much. Secondly, they are super squishy, which kind of goes with the first one, but they're not going to be around for very long. Toughness 3, 4-up save, 1 wound. And thirdly, they only really synergize with warriors and wraiths, so they are limited in their application. That about wraps things up for the Macrocytes, but here are my final thoughts. It's an interesting unit. I know I've used that word a few times in this review, but it's how I feel about them. However, I would be a lot more interested in them if they were 10 points cheaper. I think 85 points is just too high, and that is why you are not going to see them in loads of competitive lists. You're not going to see 3 units of these being spammed anytime soon. But I do think they are worth giving a try, particularly if you favour that kind of defensive mode of playing Necrons. For example, with your unkillable warrior brick, they will make it more unkillable. And for Wraiths, they make them not only harder to kill, but they also make the Wraiths more killy. Their damage output massively increases. So there is definitely some synergy there. Thanks again for watching right to the end, and don't forget to let me know in the comments how you are using Macrocytes. Have I missed any interesting synergies or combos? Or let me know why you're not running them. Are they too expensive? Do you not like the profile? Let's have a discussion. As always, we put this question out to the wider community and we had a really good response. I'd just like to say a huge thank you to everybody who contributed. Your name should be on the screen about now. And for the rest of you, if you would like to talk more about Necrons or just 40k in general, we have a fantastic, friendly, welcoming Discord. It's free to join. I'll put a link in the pinned comment to this video, so come on over and join the fun. A huge thank you also to all of my YouTube channel members and Patreons. Your support is massively appreciated in keeping the channel going and helping me to make these videos. So in our Elites level, we have Castor, Living Dead Girl 40k, David Lloyd, Roberix, and Slayer Miniatures. At Leader level, we have Bartosz Malkiewicz, Colin Nicol, Chad Henry, Stainsby Kingsby, John O'Neill, Phasmatis, Evan Peache, also known as Days 12, David Pooley, and Stephen Ramsey. And in the top tier at Epic Hero level, we have Rally Point Games and Minds, Morton Monks-a-Roller, and Sovolf. So that's everything for now. Thanks again, and I'll be back soon with another video.